The UHS Dauntless wasn't the sort of ship anyone joined willingly. It was the kind you got assigned to after too many disciplinary notes, too much creative thinking, or one too many explosions blamed on unforeseen physics. It was, in short, the perfect home for humanity's misfits. Captain Amira Zhao stood at the viewport, watching the silent rotation of a dead station orbiting a black hole's edge. Her expression was neutral, but her voice, soft, clipped, and unyielding, carried command. "Lieutenant Moreno," she said, "please tell me the station isn't about to kill us." "Technically," replied Jax Moreno, the ship's chief engineer, "everything near a black hole is about to kill us. It's a question of enthusiasm." From behind the console, Dr. Nia Patel gave a thin smile. Her dark eyes flicked over the data streams with the hunger of someone seeing poetry in radiation graphs. "The gravitational shear is stable for another hour. If we move fast, we can extract the relic core before it collapses." "That's your idea of stable?" grumbled Corporal Wrench Gallagher, the dauntless mechanic, whose hands were perpetually blackened with engine soot and bad decisions. "My knees start aching when the gravity gets funny." "They're aching now." Document. Amira turned one eyebrow raised. "You're 28. "Yeah," Wrench said proudly. "Old knees. Been through some stuff." A ripple of laughter passed through the bridge, tight, weary, but genuine. It was that kind of crew, held together with sarcasm, caffeine, and the stubborn refusal to die. The derelict station hung ahead, ancient and scarred. Alien glyphs ran like dried veins across its hull. According to the Concord archives, it was a royal node, a research outpost of the extinct kings of Orion, who'd ruled the galaxy eons ago before vanishing overnight. Every other species avoided their ruins. Humanity, predictably, filed the warnings under suggestions. "Lock onto the power signature." Amira ordered. "Jax, you're with me. Wrench, keep the shuttle from falling apart. Nia, eyes on the readings. If anything glows ominously, tell us before it explodes." "Aye, Captain," came three voices, each with a different shade of irony. Inside the station, their lights carved paths through dust and stillness. The corridors were built for giants, smooth metallic arches, each pulse line dormant. Jax ran his gloved fingers along a panel. "This alloy isn't in any database. Probably self-repairing at a molecular level." Wrench snorted. "Great. So if we break it, it fixes itself. Wish my tools did that." Amira's gaze caught a faint shimmer at the hall's end. A circular chamber. At its heart, a dark sphere suspended above a cracked dais. Tendrils of metal reached toward it like worshippers frozen mid-prayer. Nia's voice crackled through comms from the Dauntless. "That, Captain, is what the Concord classified as a Starlance core. Rumor says it was part of a weapon array that could pierce planetary shields." Jax whistled softly. "And here we are, a species still arguing about metric versus imperial." "Focus," Amira said. She approached the sphere, studying the etched sigils. They pulsed faintly under her flashlight, reacting to proximity. "Think we can extract it?" "I think," Jax said, "we have to. It's not just energy, it's knowledge. Imagine reverse engineering this tech." Wrench tapped the hull with his wrench. "Imagine explaining it to the Concord auditors." Back aboard the Dauntless, they secured the Starlance core in the cargo bay. The sphere now emitted a low hum, as if waking from a long sleep. Nia examined the readings. "It's radiating quantum signatures we don't have names for." "Make some up," Wrench suggested. "Call them glowy bits." Amira ignored him, her attention fixed on the core. "Any danger of detonation?" "Unlikely," Nia said, "but it's reactive, almost aware." Jax grinned, eyes bright with curiosity. "Then let's see what it remembers." He connected a diagnostic lead, cobbled together from 3 incompatible interfaces and a coffee stirrer, and the ship's lights dimmed instantly. Wrench said, "That's not good." The sphere blazed with blue fire. A resonant hum rolled through the ship, vibrating in their bones. On the main display, alien text streamed faster than any translator could process. Nia gasped, "It's broadcasting. The frequency, it's not local, it's interstellar." Amira's voice cut through the rising noise. "Shut it down." "I'm trying." Jax shouted, wrestling with the power conduits. Wait, hold on." The display flickered. For an instant, they all saw it. An image burned into the comm feed, a throne of light, and upon it, a figure of metal and shadow turning its gaze toward them. Then the core went dark. Silence fell, broken only by the distant groan of cooling metal. Amira exhaled slowly. "Report." Jax's hands were shaking. "It pinged something. Or someone." Nia swallowed hard. "The data says it transmitted a beacon signature. Across 600 sectors." "Translation?" Amira asked. Nia looked up, her face pale. "It sent a message in Old Orion. For words, the king still reigned." The bridge erupted in overlapping voices. Wrench cursed. Jax muttered equations like a prayer. Nia frantically typed commands to isolate the transmission data. Amira said nothing, watching the black hole's event horizon ripple faintly, as if something vast and ancient had stirred within it. The comms channel buzzed alive with the crisp accent of Administrator Tavrin, a Concord official. "Human vessel Dauntless, you have violated interstellar artifact protocol. You will cease all activity and await inspection." Amira tapped the console. "Administrator, with respect, the artifact has already activated itself. Suggest you update your inspection criteria to include imminent doom." "Captain Zhao," Tavrin said coldly, "you do not comprehend what you've awakened. Those ruins are forbidden for a reason." "Then perhaps," Amira said evenly, "you should have explained that before sending us to clean up your forgotten gods." Tavrin's reply was sharp as glass. "Stand down or face Concord sanction." The transmission cut. The crew exchanged glances. Wrench broke the silence first. "Well, that went well." Nia frowned. "We're detecting movement near the horizon. Multiple energy signatures. Vectoring toward us." "Ships?" Amira asked. "Not Concord," Nia whispered. "Older." A low tremor ran through the hull. The lights flickered. Jack stared out the viewport and froze. "Captain, those aren't ships. They're constructs. Thousands of them." The sensor display bloomed with contact pings. The King's fleet was waking. Amira straightened, her calm returning like armor. "All hands to stations. If history's coming back to life, let's make sure humanity gets written into it." Wrench gave a crooked grin. "Never thought I'd say this, but I miss boring salvage runs." "Consider this one of those," Amira said, "just with higher stakes." The blackness outside deepened, shapes forming from light and shadow. And as the Dauntless turned his nose away from the dead station, the Star Land's core pulsed once more, like a heartbeat. The Dauntless shook under the strain of acceleration, every rivet singing in protest. Outside, the stars smeared into streaks of motion, the black hole shrinking into a pinprick of dark fire. Inside, the bridge glowed with warning lights. Evasion pattern Delta 5. Captain Amira Zhao ordered, gripping the railing, "Keep us between the debris fields. Those constructs are still tracking us." "I know," Lieutenant Jax Moreno replied, his fingers dancing over the navigation console. "They're using some kind of gravitational pulse lock. Our shields look like neon signs to them." "Could we turn off the shields?" asked Corporal Wrench Gallagher, his expression hopeful and insane in equal measure. Amira didn't even glance at him. "Not unless you like to experience spontaneous implosion." "Right," Wrench said, scratching his chin. "File that under maybe later." The hum of the engines rose, then steadied. For the first time in hours, the hull stopped vibrating. Dr. Nia Patel, who'd been silent throughout the chase, exhaled softly. "They've stopped pursuing. Either we're out of range, or they're waiting for something." "Neither option comforts me," Amira said. They gathered in the mess hall, a space that doubled as war room, workshop, and therapy lounge. The Star Land's core sat at the center of the table, locked behind a containment field. It pulsed faintly, like a sleeping heart. Jax projected a holographic schematic above it. Jagged outlines, data fragments, gravitational waveforms. "I've been analyzing the energy readings. This thing isn't just a power source. It's part of a weapon array, something that used magnetic acceleration to launch dense matter projectiles at near light speed. So, a giant gun, Wrench said. A railgun, Nia corrected. Except this one could flatten a continent from orbit. Amira leaned forward. Can we build one? The room fell silent. Jax frowned. Captain, we barely kept the ship from melting during the jump. A railgun like that would require power beyond our generators. Nia looked thoughtful. What if we use the Star Lance's core? Its energy output could sustain a temporary acceleration field. Temporary? Wrench echoed. Define temporary. Long enough to fire once, she said. He grinned. That's my favorite kind of duration. Amira's eyes flicked between them. We have an enemy we can't outfly, or outtalk. We'll need something they don't expect. And we're good at that, Jax said, doing the things no one expects. Or survives, Wrench muttered. For the next 30 hours, the Dauntless became less a ship and more a floating workshop of reckless invention. Cargo bays turned into fabrication labs. Power conduits were rerouted. The crew cannibalized everything from the med bay's magnetic scanners to the coffee machine superconductors. Wrench and Jax worked side by side, surrounded by sparks and profanity. Your cross-wire and polarity regulator, Jax said, peering over Wrench's shoulder. Exactly, Wrench replied. That's the opposite of what we need. Exactly, Wrench repeated, tightening a bolt. Jax sighed. You're impossible. That's why it works. Nia monitored the power flow from the bridge, surrounded by a storm of numbers and gravitational models. The construct was still out there, lurking. She could feel it, the strange, rhythmic distortions in local space, like distant thunder. Amira joined her. Status. The railgun array is at 82% integration, Nia said, but the energy feedback loop is unstable. If we fire too soon, we'll tear ourselves apart. Amira nodded. How long until it's ready? 6 hours minimum. You have 4, Amira said quietly. Nia hesitated, then smiled faintly. Then we'll make it work in 3. Hours bled together. The Dauntless became a symphony of controlled chaos. Voices shouting through comms, metal screaming under welding torches, the hum of raw energy building in the belly of the ship. At one point, Wrench stumbled into the bridge carrying a bundle of wires and a half-melted wrench. Good news. The magnetic coils are functional. Amira glanced up. And the bad news? They're also alive. I think they're trying to mate with the coolant system. Handle it, she said. I'm trying, Wrench protested, but it's a very forward coil. Even Nia chuckled at that. The laughter, brief though it was, reminded them they were still human, still absurd, still stubborn, even in the face of annihilation. 3 hours later, the railgun was ready. The weapon was crewed by Galactic standards, a massive, improvised barrel lined with scavenged magnetic rings, stretching the length of the Dauntless hull. It hummed with unstable potential. Jack stood before the console, sweat beading on his brow. All systems aligned. We're charging the coils. The lights dimmed. Power surged through the ship like a heartbeat. Projectile loaded? Amira asked. Just a tungsten rod, Wrench said. About as aerodynamic as a brick. But it'll do. Captain, Nia said. The constructs are on the move again. 3 of them, closing fast. Then we test our toy. Amira said, target the lead vessel. Jax hesitated. Captain, if this misfires. We'll never know, she finished. Fire on my mark. The railgun's coils began to glow, the magnetic field tightening around the projectile. The hull groaned under the strain. Mark. A flash. The slug vanished into the dark, leaving a trail of ionized gas. Silence followed. 10 seconds of nothing. Then 20. Did it miss? Wrench asked. Please tell me it didn't miss. Sensor lag. Nia whispered. Wait, there's something. The display flared white. A shock wave rippled across the void. The lead construct disintegrated, shards scattering like glitter into the darkness. Impact confirmed, Nia breathed. It hit. Wrench hooped, pumping a fist. We did it. We built a planet killer out of scrap. But his celebration died as the lights flickered again. The power readout spiked red. Jack stared at the numbers, horror dawning. The feedback loop, it's overloading. The core's destabilizing. The Star Lance's hum turned into a rising wail, resonant and almost alive. Shut it down. Amira ordered. I can't, Jack said. It's feeding off residual energy. It's learning. The deck tilted violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Outside, the remaining constructs began to converge, their weapons glowing. Amira steadied herself. Options. Run, Wrench said immediately. Not an option. Nia's fingers flew across her console. If we vent the coils and reverse the polarity, we might bleed the excess energy into the shot's trajectory field. Jax's eyes widened. You mean, send the overload to the slug's path? That could bend it through space. Nia finished. Or through us, Wrench added helpfully. Amira looked at them each in turn. The engineer's focus, the scientist's fire, the mechanic's reckless grin. Humanity distilled to its finest. Brilliant chaos under pressure. Do it, she said. They worked in unison. Cables snapped, alarms screamed, and the deck trembled as the core's light built to a blinding crescendo. Now! Jack shouted. The power discharged in a thunderous roar. The ship lurched as if kicked by a god. And then, silence. The sensors went dark. The constructs vanished from the scope. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Did we just... Wrench began, but before he could finish, the ship's systems flickered back to life. Nia stared at her screen, disbelief flooding her voice. The slug didn't vanish, she whispered. It reappeared behind the enemy fleet. Amira leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And it's still moving. The Dauntless hung in silence, adrift among the ruins of what had once been an enemy armada. Where 100 alien constructs had stood, there was now only dust. Fine particulate glass swirling in the void like glitter spilled across eternity. Captain Amira Zhao gripped the console's edge. Status. Alive, Jax Moreno muttered, half collapsed at engineering. His face was pale, his hair standing on end, as though the laws of physics had personally scolded him. Barely. Define barely, Amira said. Jax gestured weakly at the flickering lights. We lost half a capacitor banks. The railgun coils are fused. The hull plating on Deck 7 is optional. Dr. Nia Patel spoke without looking up from her screen. Her voice was quiet, reverent. The projectile didn't just hit, Captain. It folded space around itself. It tunneled to the singularity and re-emerged behind the fleet, traveling faster than light could predict. Wrench gave a low whistle. So we invented FTL ammunition. Accidentally, Jack said. The best kind of invention, Wrench replied. Amira studied the display, the residual energy ripples spreading outward like concentric rings in dark water. And the enemy? Gone, Nia said simply. Every trace obliterated. No one spoke for several moments. The hum of the damaged engines filled the silence, underscored by the slow tick of cooling metal. Finally, Amira said, Let's see who noticed. They didn't have to wait long. The main comms array flickered, then came alive with dozens of overlapping transmissions. Shrill Concord frequencies, emergency codes, and something older, deeper. Nia filtered the noise. Multiple broadcasts. The shot shockwave registered across the sector. The Concord fleet is scrambling. Another voice cut through the static, cold and familiar. Human vessel Dauntless. This is Administrator Tavrin. You are to power down and prepare for boarding. Your actions constitute a breach of interstellar law and a threat to galactic stability. Amira folded her arms. They sound upset. They should be, Wrench said cheerfully. We just reinvented divinity. Jax groaned. Please don't say that to the auditors. But Nia wasn't listening. Her attention was fixed on a lower frequency transmission, one that wasn't Concord at all. The voice that came through was layered, metallic, ancient. The Star Lance had spoken. The kings still reign. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Jax frowned. That's impossible. Those empires are extinct. Apparently not, Amira said. or their machines never got the memo. Outside, the stars shifted. Dozens of signatures appeared on long-range scans, each marked by the same energy pattern as the constructs they destroyed, only larger. Wrench's jaw dropped. You got to be kidding me. They're converging, Nia whispered. Every ancient warship in range just woke up. The next hours blurred into motion. The Dauntless limped through fractured space. Try and stay ahead of the growing swarm. The crew worked without rest. Jax tore apart power couplings, rerouting energy through bypass circuits that weren't meant to exist. Nia charted gravitational anomalies to mask their trajectory. Wrench, somehow, found time to make coffee. You brewed it using the coolant line, Jax said, watching him with horror. It's all heat transfer, Wrench said, sipping. Also, I can now see sound. Amira ignored them both. We can't keep running. What's the core's condition? Stable, Nia said, but reactive. It's mimicking our energy patterns, learning from us. Learning? Amira repeated. It's adjusting its waveform to our systems, Nia said, almost like it's cooperating. Wrench leaned closer to the containment field, squinting. So it likes us? Or it's using us, Jack said darkly. Amira considered that. Then let's make sure it's mutual. The Concorde fleet appeared at the edge of the system 6 hours later, sleek ships of silver and light, forming a blockade. Human vessel Dauntless, Tavrin's voice rang again. You are hereby ordered to surrender the Starlands core to Concorde custody. Amira stared at the holographic projection of the administrator, a tall, crystalline being whose expression was somewhere between disdain and panic. Surrender it, she said. To you? Humanity has violated containment protocols. Tavrin snapped. Your weapon disrupted the balance of power. You've awakened forces that could annihilate us all. Then maybe you should help us stop them, Amira replied. We cannot align ourselves with chaos. Amira's smile was small and sharp. Then watch what chaos does when it fights back. She cut the transmission. The command deck fell quiet except for the hum of the engines. Jack spoke first. So, to summarize, ancient empire of death machines, furious galactic government, unstable god core in our cargo bay, and one severely overworked railgun. That about covers it, Amira said. Wrench raised his coffee mug. To Tuesdays. Captain, Nia said suddenly, I've been analyzing the shot trajectory data. The railgun's feedback loop didn't just create an energy burst. It created a spatial echo. We can replicate it. Jax looked up sharply. You mean do it again? Not the same way, Nia said. Smaller. Controlled. We could redirect the gravitational distortions into a defense field, or if we focus it, we could punch through anything. Jax finished. Amira nodded slowly. Do it. Wrench grinned. I like where this is going. As they worked, a strange rhythm settled over the ship. Focus edged with quiet fear. The Dauntless was battered, but alive. Every creak of the hull was a reminder of how fragile they were. Yet none of them faltered. Amira watched her crew, Jax's furious precision, Nia's abstract brilliance, Wrench's impossible improvisations, and felt a rare warmth. They weren't soldiers. They were humans, problem solvers armed with caffeine duct tape and defiance. Captain, Jax said, breaking her thoughts, ready to test the field. Do it. He activated the circuit. The ship shuddered, light rippling along its hull. For an instant, the Dauntless glowed, a silver ghost against the void. Then the energy stabilized into a faint blue aura. Shields online, Nia reported. And reflective. Incoming signals are bouncing off. They can't get a lock. Amira smiled. Good. Let's make sure they remember that humans don't go quietly. Moments later, the first of the ancient warships dropped out of warp, colossal, cathedral-shaped vessels bristling with energy. The crew stared. Those things are city-sized, Wrench murmured. We're bringing a railgun to a religion. Then let's pray we aim well, Amira said. The largest of the ships emitted a low tone, a voice like thunder rolling through metal. Children of the lesser stars, bow before your sovereigns. The kings have returned. Jax's hands flew across the weapon controls. charging the railgun. Trajectory locked, Nia added. But we only have enough power for one shot. Amira's gaze hardened. Then let's make it count. The coil lights brightened, feeding on the Star Lance's pulse. The ship thrummed as though alive. Wrench leaned over the console, eyes wide. Captain, if this works. It won't just work, Amira said. It'll be history. The weapon fired. A line of pure light tore across the void, bending space itself. The enemy flagship vanished in silence. When the glare faded, nothing remained but a rippling scar of white fire. The galaxy was burning. Every Concord relay, every quiet colony, every forgotten moon now echoed with single pulse, the broadcast of the Dauntless. Humanity's impossible shot had traveled faster than light, and its echo had become legend before the sound could fade. Across the stars, the ancient war machines of the kings rose from their tombs. Across the stars, the rulers who had mocked humanity suddenly remembered what fear felt like. And in the center of it all, the UHS Dauntless drifted, wounded, defiant, and very much alive. On the bridge, the crew was silent. The comm feeds were a storm of chaos. Concord fleets retreating, border sectors collapsing, civilian worlds calling for help. Captain Amira Zhao stood tall among the chaos, her uniform scorched and patched, her expression unbroken. Report. Dr. Nia Patel's voice trembled only slightly. The Star Lance's signal has gone galactic. Every major power knows who fired the shot. We're either heroes or heretics, possibly both. Lieutenant Jax Moreno hunched over the engineering console. The weapons burned out half our systems. We got enough power for one jump, maybe two. After that, we're a very expensive meteor. And the King's fleet? Amira asked. Still advancing. Nia said, their formation's fracturing, but they're adapting, learning our tactics. From under a console came Wrench Gallagher's muffled voice. We made history, all right. Now history wants us dead. Not dead, Amira said quietly. Tested. The bridge lights dimmed as Jax powered down unnecessary systems. Captain, if we're going to face them, we need a plan that doesn't involve another railgun blast. We don't have the charge for it. Nia looked up from her readings. Maybe we don't need to fire it again. The Star Lance isn't just a weapon. It's a signal amplifier. It reacts to data, not just power. If we feed it the right information, we could redirect its resonance field. Redirect it to what? Amira asked. Nia hesitated. Communication. It could broadcast at quantum levels, faster than light, instantaneous. We could send a message across the galaxy. Wrench poked his head out, grinning. So, instead of shooting another god bullet, we sent a cosmic group text? Jax frowned. We have to reroute the entire drive network through the containment grid. That's unstable. Everything we've done since breakfast has been unstable, Amira said. Get it done. For the next several hours, the Dauntless became a crucible of invention once more. Jax disassembled the weapon coils, feeding their magnetic fields into the ship's communications array. Nia fine-tuned the quantum parameters, fingers trembling from exhaustion, but eyes alight with purpose. Wrench scrounged through every compartment, producing parts no one remembered installing. The air smelled of ozone and adrenaline. Amira watched it all in silence. They were fighting an empire older than their species, and yet, somehow, they were winning by refusing to play by anyone's rules but their own. The final system came online. The ship hummed with restrained energy. The Star Lance's pulse synchronized with the crew's heartbeat. Jax wiped his hands. It's ready. One broadcast. After that, she'll be dust. Amira nodded. Nia looked up. Message composed. Once we trigger it, it'll propagate through every channel the King's network uses. It'll be impossible to block. Good. Amira said, let's say something worth hearing. The crew gathered around the console. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Amira began to dictate, her voice low but steady. This is Captain Amira Zhao of the United Human Ship Dauntless. To any who can hear, we don't seek thrones or crowns. We seek the stars, for everyone. The kings call us lesser beings. They measure worth by conquest. But humanity measures it by survival, by creation, by refusing to kneel. If you stand for the same, stand with us. The galaxy is wide enough for all of us, if we choose to make it so. Silence followed. Wrench cleared his throat. That was very inspiring, Captain. 10 out of 10. Needs more explosions, oh. Send it. Amira said. The Star Lance's light intensified, flooding the bridge. Energy lands through the ship's core, rippling outward in concentric rings. The broadcast spread, not as a sound, but as a feeling. Defiance wrapped in wonder, chaos tempered by hope. Across the void, ships of every species received the signal. Soldiers laid down weapons. Engineers leaned closer to their consoles. Entire fleets paused. And then something unexpected happened. The King's armada stopped. Their energy signatures faltered, then flickered erratically. One by one, their vessels powered down. Nia stared at her readings. Captain, the Star Lance's resonance is disrupting their control matrices. The signal's rewriting their command hierarchy. Jax's voice rose. You mean we're hacking the gods? Basically, Nia said. Wrench hooped. Well, that's one way to overthrow a monarchy. Outside, the King's ships turn on each other, vast silhouettes of metal and fire colliding in silence. The Concord fleets, once hesitant, now surge forward to engage. The battlefield transformed into chaos, but not humanity's destruction, its revolution. Amira watched it unfold, her expression unreadable. So ends the age of kings, she murmured. The comms crackle with new voices. Alien captains, free colonies, rebel fleets, all rallying to the signal. Humanity's words had become a unifying cry. Jax looked up. We did it! But Amira's gaze lingered on the Star Lance. No, she said softly. We started it. Minutes later, the Star Lance's glow began to fade. The containment field wavered. Captain, Neo warned, the core's destabilizing. It's discharging residual energy. We have to eject it. Amira hesitated. And lose the only thing keeping the Kings from coming back? If it overloads inside the ship, there won't be a ship left to save, Jack said. Amira nodded once. Do it. The airlock cycled. The Star Lance drifted free into space, glowing like a dying sun. Then, with a final pulse, it vanished, not exploding, but folding inward, disappearing into a singularity no sensor could track. Silence. The Dauntless floated among the wreckage, its crew staring into the emptiness where their impossible creation had been. Wrench leaned back, letting out a shaky laugh. So we win. Nia smiled faintly. For now. Jax groaned, slumping against the bulkhead. Next time we build something, can it be less apocalyptic? Amira looked at each of them, tired, bruised, brilliant. We built more than a weapon, she said. We built a future. Outside, the first rays of a distant sun caught the dauntless battered hull, painting it gold. The war was far from over. But for the first time in millennia, the galaxy had a choice that wasn't dictated by fear. Nia adjusted the sensors. Incoming transmissions from across the Concord. They're pledging cooperation. Some are even sending aid. See, Wrench said with a grin. Humans, shoot one bullet. Start a peace conference. Amira laughed. The sound quiet but genuine. Not peace, Wrench. Possibility. As the Dauntless turned toward open space, its engines flaring weakly but defiantly, Amira recorded one final log. When humanity fired its first railgun, the galaxy's kings fell from their thrones. Not because we were stronger, but because we dared to try. The universe is vast, uncertain, and dangerous. But we're still here. We always will be. She ended the recording. Course, Captain. Jax asked. Amira smiled. Anywhere we haven't been told not to go.